Hey, everybody, welcome. This is Jason with Gather Veterans, and super excited to be joined by a good friend of mine, Mr. Tom Dilley. Tom, how's it going?
Hey, it's going good, Jason.
Good to see you. Hey, thank you so much for coming on and joining us for this video interview. Gather Veterans is a really cool resource for veterans all across the state of Michigan, actually in the nation if they want. It's a print magazine along with a digital magazine. That's just a great
Yep.
opportunity for veterans to connect. And so one of the goals that we have is to interview you guys, you veterans out there who
Right.
served our country, and just to hear your story. Um, my first question, really quick, Tom, is why is it important for veterans to share their stories, in your opinion?
Oh, geez. Well, number one, I think we're living in times right now that people just don't really know how important it is to show a little bit of a patriotic fervor in their life. Why the country is, going through the turmoil is a big deal to me, and I think a lot of it is, letting loose of some of our founding principles that came with the Constitution, and then really defending them.
As a veteran yourself, we're going to get to Tom's story in just a second, but as a veteran yourself, what encourages you as a vet? What is it you love to see out in society and in culture in America?
It's encouraging. I noticed just in the last few years. There have been just so many wars and so on and so forth, and really war is awful, but it comes into play when we're talking about veterans, and it's encouraging to see how some are beginning to be a little bit more noticed. That's not a big deal to some, but to others, it can make a big difference, and then to really move on. They feel like they're lost. They're some looked down upon even, and they got to get their story out for many reasons. I couldn't be able to go into all of them, but just from my point of view, in a time that I served, we were really shunned upon, and many just are living that to this day, and it's not right. The patriotic, what word is it I want to do? But anyhow, the patriotism has just vanished. And I think that has a lot to do with just in this country. Supporting the vet has never been that really great as far as the government goes, but it needs to be a lot better in the public view. And I think the public has really put a bad light on a lot about veterans.
Yeah, and that's I guess one of the reasons why my wife has taken on this project of Gather Veterans is to really get that out there, to say we need to honor you guys who have chosen to take that step to serve our country. Which leads me to my next question: is take us back to the moment that you decided, and what was going through your mind when it came to serving our country. Did you have a choice, or were you, was it your choice to serve in
Yeah,
it? So,
right. Yeah, well, that was a pretty heated time. Everyone knows the early days of Vietnam. And although I came in kind of toward the end of it, I think toward the end of it, it was getting even worse as far as attitudes, with people. But me personally, I come from a military family. So I've always had a good connection with them, and I've always looked up to the military. And my senior year, I decided that I was going to, it was senior year in high school, I decided I was going to enlist. Now, I know the draft was going good and strong back then, and I really wanted to have a choice, somewhat of a choice, as to how I was going to serve in the service. And knowing that also my mother had been a nurse since right by the times of World War II. So she's always had a big medical background, and I kind of wanted to pursue that, so I went in as a medic, or a hospital corpsman, as it portrayed in the Navy. So I had a choice. I enlisted, and I really looked forward to serving in that capacity.
And you said that you had a military family. Did your dad serve in the military? I missed that.
Yeah, my dad was in World War II. He was in a late wave at Normandy. He actually served majority of his time on oh, it looks like a fishing boat to me, but it was actually a boat that he went across the Atlantic several times in, and I don't know how he survived, but he was a pretty amazing man in his service.
Oh, that's great. That is awesome. I love studying about World War II. I think it's just a fascinating piece in our
Yeah.
history for sure. So, Tom, real quick, you joined the Navy. Tell us your experience. What is your story like? What did you see? What did you do? And just let everybody
Wow.
go with you.
Boy, it has all kinds of curves in it. I enlisted at the time I did my basic training out in San Diego. I took all the hospital corpsman training, then was transferred to the East Coast to really the suburbs of Boston. It was called Chelsea Naval Hospital. I served there until it got decommissioned, and then I was transferred to a ship called the USS John F. Kennedy that was ported out of Newport. There's a short period of time where certain ships on the West Pac had to come home and be serviced, and a very few actually from the East had to transfer over to the West. We just happened to be one of them. But I had firsthand dealings with a lot of people coming back from Nam, and it was a pretty ugly scene. There were some people that were extremely really messed up. And yet, the war was actually declared over by them, but it wasn't. There were hot pockets everywhere for a couple of years, even afterwards. So there was a lot of turmoil, and like I said before, these guys already were in a bad situation. And to be honest with you, this country made it even worse for them. So I feel honored that just my time, honored to be able to serve, and I don't regret a minute of it. In fact, it was pretty funny early in our stages of my wife and I's marriage. I actually tried to get back in, but I was too old. They wouldn't let me back in. But anyway, they're a special group. They're special people. They deserve the honor and recognition, and I don't know. I just am thankful I chose that path.
So, did it alter what you did when you came out? Did you?
Well, it was kind of a sad situation, really. I don't know if it was just the timing or whatever. I wanted to pursue in the medical field, but all my service experience that I got helped me nothing, in no way. I just had to start from the ground up, and that kind of got me frustrated. So I just kind of sidestepped, and after a few years, pursue it in a different way, just in the medical technology aspect of it, instead of the, maybe being a doctor or a nurse, or serving in that kind of a capacity. I just kind of went a different way because I wanted to be involved somehow, and I found out that medical equipment and technology would probably be the way to go.
So what's something that you experienced while you were in the service? Anything kind of maybe that changed your life that you saw that you weren't prepared for, and how did you deal with that?
Oh, man. Probably the thing that had a profound effect on me is a couple of relationships I gathered. One was with a guy that was hurt really bad, really bad. His knee was basically destroyed. But they were trying to revive it and trying to help him to keep his leg. And we got pretty close in our relationship. Only reason being is because we ended up stateside and we reconnected, and it happened to be in the hospital where I was stationed at there in Norfolk, and got reconnected, and his condition was a lot worse. You know, he had been around the hospital pretty much forever for the last year and a half, but then it went sour, and his leg just was not going to heal. And before they were able to actually take it from him, he passed away. The gangrene had just poisoned his body, and it destroyed him. And that had a big impact on me back then. I thought, you know, we really didn't serve this guy very well. You know, he basically gave his life, and I just felt like we could have done so much more. And really, that's the impact that stayed with me. We need to do more. You know, it's even things like what you're doing to get words out, to get people's story out, to let them realize what guys have went through and what it meant their lives to them. And you know, it's always been my dream to get involved somehow, and I'm still going to try to step up in some way in capacity for the vets. That's really in my heart and my soul. So I don't know. It's a big deal. Just not let it stop from when you get out, and to play some part to support these guys and gals.
Did you have a hard time getting back into civilian world after you were in the military? How long did you serve, by the way?
Just shy of 4 years. It would have ended up being over 4, but I had to re-enlist because we were going to go overseas again, and I just didn't want to. Some of my times coming home were not good in the travel because of a lot of people's actions toward us at that time. But it was just a bad timing, probably. If it had been a different time and period, probably would have been in for longer. But it was what the country was going through at that time that I chose, no, I've served enough right now, and I'm going to get out.
What was the motivation for the society treating you guys poorly? Like, what was the stories being shared? What was the perception of the military, and why was the perception wrong?
Well, anybody that researches those times, the whole country was messed up with all kinds of stuff. I mean, there were movements. I mean, just all kinds of social things that were happening that I don't think people were getting the truth on matters. And I tell you, a lot of us in the service were messed up just on drugs to deal with things. You know, and I speak as well for myself. You know, it was something that we got connected to, and it wasn't any better when we got out. I mean, there just weren't the programs available to help them that they really needed.
Yeah. Are you currently involved in any organization in Northern Michigan, which is where you're from, by the way, so everybody knows that? Do you get together with other veterans regularly, or is that something that's important to you right now?
No, not really. I connect with some. I do have a page from our ship, you know, that I connect with every now and then. I'm actually trying to reconnect with some of the guys that I served with. I know one is in Puerto Rico. That's where he lives. Several of them actually that I served with are gone. They passed away. But it's hard. It's hard to reconnect with them. Some people don't want to be contacted anymore. So it's pretty difficult. But as far as the present, I haven't yet, but that's going to change. You know, I'm never going to be able to retire, but I'm going to have time to where there's there's something. I guess maybe I'm waiting for God to point me in the correct way, but it's coming. I
Yeah.
feel it's really coming, and I can't wait till it does. I'll feel like I've finally made a connection that I've had to for a long time.
Well, that's great, and I hope you are able to connect soon. There are so many organizations out there that are really trying to help vets, and you know that. I don't have to tell you that. But so before we go and get it out of here, what before we close anyway, what would you say to other guys? Let's two things. One is, what would you say to someone who is thinking about joining the military? Put yourself in their shoes again. What would you say to them now on this side of things? And secondly, how would you encourage other vets to come forward and just share their story to encourage others?
Yeah. As far as now, people coming in, they're needed. They're needed. War has played a whole different way right now, and they're needed in all kinds of capacities. So kudos to them, man. They're once again going to be a part of a special breed, and I don't want to discourage them in any way, but definitely encourage them to look at it very seriously from all aspects, not only from what they are going to get out of it, but what they can put into it as well. It's not an easy choice. You're basically being willing to give your life and to recognize just what signing that paper is going to mean. So don't take it lightly, guys and gals. You better, think about it seriously. But I was fired up, when I decided to take that step, and I hope the ones that do are fired up to go in for the right reason.
First, let me just say this. I think we take it for granted the choice that is being made by you as someone who goes into the military. I think I take it for granted that you're signing the paper saying, I mean, I know we talk about it all the time, but I think I take it for granted that you're choosing to say, if I die doing this, it's because I am choosing to do this. So all of you sitting at home watching Netflix can watch Netflix in freedom. We take it for
there's a lot of truth to that. We don't realize how special our freedom is. The freedom of choice in this country, a lot of people don't have a choice. And we are blessed with it, and hopefully God will bless us to where we can have it a lot longer.
That's one way that the coronavirus has all changed our perspective. Oh, yeah. I can't go do this. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know.
So my last question was, what would you say to encourage other veterans to come forward and share their story?
It's so important. It's so important. Not only that, it's important for them to get the word out, but it will really help them as well. So many different ones have all kinds of things just stored up within their minds, within their heart. And I think if they're willing to be a little bit more vulnerable, sometimes I think pride gets in the way. Just allow themselves to be a little bit more vulnerable. They can move on. They can have some healing.
Sure.
Helps them get back a little bit more into society and be able to continue to grow instead of just kind of stand where you're at. We've got to be able to move forward, and I think sharing is going to be a big step in that area.
Yeah. No, that's great. Tom, thank you for your service to our country, and thank you for being on the interview today with us for Gather Veterans. We appreciate it.
Well, thanks. My pleasure.
Take care.